Homefront The Revolution. You know it? You probably don't. You probably hate it or just really don't care about it. And I completely understand why. The game was developed previously by Chaos Studios, then Free Radical Design, and finally by Crytek, and published by Deep Silver and released in May of 2016. And it was met with rather huge from everyone, mainly because the game was rather disappointing in comparison to other video game releases of 2016 like Doom, Hitman, or even stuff like Titanfall 2. And in the end, it just fell into somewhat of an obscurity. However, those who did take a look at it really tore the game apart. Now, opinions are opinions, and if you don't like Homefront, that is completely fine. I'm not forcing you to change your opinion. However, I will say though, some of the hate this game got when it was relevant felt unearned, cause...
Let me get this straight.
You believe Homefront The Revolution is a good game?
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
Now, before you say I'm a fanboy, I'm not. If you aren't interested into watching the entire video, I'll just say now, I think this game is a perfect 7 out of 10. I do not believe it's a hidden gem, or underappreciated masterpiece. Run has many janks. Its writing and story isn't that good, and gameplay can be sometimes a bit frustrating. But hey, I still had fun, and I just believe it's a good game that just got too much hate that it didn't deserve. In ahead, I will not be covering the DLCs, those being the Voice of Freedom, Aftermath, and Beyond the Walls, because these honestly deserve their own video, nor will I talk about the Resistance mode, which is its own co-op mode that I could not have access to, because... So I might do a video in the future on the rest of Homefront content, but now we'll be talking about what you strictly get in the main vanilla campaign. Also, the creators I had to use the footage from will be in the description, as I tried to record my PS4 footage via remote play, but I had several times be disconnected and general lag so bad I had to resort to internet footage. Also, if you want to play the game, there will be some spoilers in the story section, so you've been warned. That being said, let's get into this. I'll honestly get the worst aspect of the game out of the way, and I'll get to better stuff later, as I don't have much to say, as it's nothing special. And that is the story, and honestly, it's really the only aspect of the game I would call truly bad, and I really want to turn this into a long video essay. I'm not ready to tap in the market just yet. At the end, I really did not care about any of the characters. The plot twists it had were either weak or predictable, and the only heroic sacrifice in the end of the game really did not give me any emotions. Jack Parrish was honestly the one I liked the most, and I still had to check the Wikipedia page to remember his name. Dina Moore was just a stereotypical crazy, the enemy deserves no mercy character. Dr. Cybernet, who while sure being a pacifist, just really hates any action you do, and if anything serves as a massive demotivation for you. There is I will be friends who get executed on the first 10 minutes of the game. These two guys on the start who mistaken him for a Korean spy. I'm never gonna mention again. There's James Crayford, the double agent. There's the cliche, I had no choice, it was for good everyone else, made him Mr. Collaborator. Benjamin Walker, the resistance leader, which gets captured in the first 15 minutes and isn't mentioned until half a point of the game. And the DLC. Yeah, I think you see my point. The characters are just poorly written and really forgettable, and at some point are just there for the sake of the game advancing its plot. Not that I have any real character progression, and the same people you see in your first 30 minutes are the same people you're gonna see in your last 30 minutes. Many plot points just happen only to go nowhere, like the Glide heist plot. Like, it would have been so much cooler if you had the Glide for more missions as support, just one that it gets destroyed later in. The story felt really generic, for lack of a better word, and they tried too much to rip off Red Dawn, and it failed miserably. The game is full of many missed opportunities, and good ideas where they were, but they were badly executed. If you're going to the story, and the only story that I can say this game is not for you. Now the gameplay section, which I actually believe is really good and actually fun, but it's somewhat frustrating. The gameplay is, how to say it better, a Diet Coke Far Cry, which is not a bad thing. Far Cry gameplay is certainly great fun when it comes to the gameplay, but Homefront is not on the same level as Far Cry. You get a phone since the start, which serves as your little hub for everything, such as a map, messages from characters, random entries that people written before add some world building, and that's got really it. However, it is neat to have this little phone with you. Weapon variety is rather small, but perfect enough, so that you will use all weapons at least once and not have over 30 guns that you will never use. The mechanic of being able to makeshiftly change the type of weapon like a pistol to an SMG is pretty cool. It does make you feel like a guerrilla fighter using unconventional weapons and tactics to take down a superior enemy. However, shooting does have some jank with recoil mainly, but among other things. It just feels like it's sometimes favoring the enemy instead of you. I don't know really why this was done, aside from maybe representing that you aren't a professional soldier but a civilian guerrilla fighter with no prior combat experience, which I find a bit odd since the game does establish you've been in the resistance movement for at least a bit of a time. The enemy variety could have used some work, but it's honestly good enough, with basically regular troopers, captains, shock troopers, which are lighter but faster than a regular trooper, and heavy infantry, along with few vehicles which are easily taken out with explosives. Just make sure you have enough of them. While civilian roster isn't too big or diverse, it's good enough to service the game. However, AI could have used some work, as the supposed elite peacekeeping troops only rush at you in brute force and in some cases really act dumb, and just run into the open with none of them trying to utilize actual tactics. They do just feel sometimes like a video game obstacle you have to deal with and not an actual threat to your whole cause in the game. The missions are also just fine, as they usually are set of objectives that you have to do, such as get something, free someone, destroy something, with some unique missions that are more or less just linear shooting missions. These missions are, again, just fine, nothing special, and are just fine dumb fun sometimes. But by the time these missions are getting repetitive, the game is already near the end, so it only overstay its welcome a bit. The free roll aspect though is what really makes me like this game, and actually gives me both Far Cry vibes and Red Dawn vibes, with multiple zones on the map, with two types of zones, a red one and a yellow one. Red zones are basically ruined parts of the city that are restricted areas to anyone but the KPA. However, for that reason, these are the main areas the resistance is active in, as the enemy patrols are light there. Yellow zones are the actual districts where people live, ranging from regular folk to collaborators. KPA has much larger presence here, there, and still is advised, such as one aspect I really like but I feel like was underused was hiding in plain sight with civilians, by holstering your gun, which you can pull out whenever to strike at the KPA. But that comes with a price, as the zone-wide alarm will trigger and you have to flee, as the KPA will not stop coming until you lose them, and neither will resistance strongholds allow you inside. These zones have a unique mechanic called hearts and minds, which is good to say red zones do have, but does nothing there. At some points to progress the story, you need to raise the hearts and minds meters to the max by either sabotaging equipment like stationary APCs, propaganda broadcasts, or tuning regular radios to the resistance radio frequency. But the best part, taking enemy outposts, which already gives you Far Cry vibes from the name alone. This is something Homefront did very well, as the outposts have much variety in this game, from just regular lookouts in apartments, to small outposts to major KPA forts. Most of it just require you to kill all KPA members, destroy certain objects, or find something. When you take over this base, the resistance will actually do some changes to the base, which is nice, and honestly these are fun to take down always, even if there's no reward for going quietly, and going guns blazing is usually the best option, as outposts either have a lot of cover or not too many enemies to deal with. Also, there's a bike and driving. It's nothing much, the controls are quite janky, and I actually found it somewhat better to just walk to your target, so as you can't use your phone nor protect yourself while driving it. And everything is very janky, so I don't recommend it. Just get on your feet and walk. There's also a hacking mechanic, just like the bike, it's really just nothing. And it's just there for specific times and not something you can use whenever you want. It's just there, it exists. For the 15 hours it took me to beat the game, it was 15 hours considered well spent. It was fun blasting KPA troops and liberating Philadelphia. However, there's also a lot of bugs and jank. While mostly fixed by today, I can't deny this game had a bad launch and a bad release, which considering what happened behind the scenes is really unsurprising, as the Chaos Studios, the team behind Homefront, shut down in 2011 by THQ, who also shut down in 2011. And the game was left in a quiet limbo for a while until Crytek bought the IP on auction for $500 million, and the new dev team had to change the game engine completely, as well as going from a direct sequel to more of a reimagining with the new open world design they went with, resulting in delays along with financing issues. It was quite a miracle the game even came out, and it's even acknowledged in the credits that it had turbulent development. And while the product that came out was not the best, they have respect for pushing the release of this game despite all the odds against them. And I feel like the hit this game got was somewhat unjust. And again, I do not believe this is a hidden masterpiece or a gem, but I believe it's a game that had too much shit for what it deserved. And honestly, that's why this game is 7 out of 10 for me. Thanks for checking this video out. It's something new I tried in comparison to my old content, so I'm considering this an experiment video. It took somewhat more effort than some of my older videos, and if this does well, I might consider making more of these in the future. Again, thanks for checking out, and I see you next time.